Welcome, everybody. At this introduction to Rachel Carson EcoVillage, we're going to start with a video of the campus, an introduction by students to the Eden Hall campus. Then I will give a little longer presentation about the EcoVillage itself, and we'll conclude with questions and answers. So please note down any questions that you have. Feel free to use the chat. We have folks like Grace who will be checking in with the chat while I'm sharing the screen. And then we'll have also a chance for additional questions. So just a minute as I bring up the video. And let me know if you have any trouble with the sound.
Hi, welcome.
Folks may also want to stop their video and mute so that there's a little less bandwidth issues and any interruptions with background noise.
Thanks, Grace.
To Eden Hall campus. My name is Allie and I'm an undergraduate sustainability student, and I'm going to show you around today.
I'm not seeing the video.
Designed from the ground up for the study and practice of sustainability, Eden Hall campus is a 380-acre woodland campus about 40 minutes north of Pittsburgh. It's replete with green features such as dark sky complement lighting, native plants, bioswales, permeable gravel, and geothermal heating and cooling system. Mueller House was built by Sebastian Mueller, a German immigrant who was a cousin and colleague of H.J. Heinz and founder of Eden Hall. Eden Hall's historic lodge is the administrative center of the campus. With a retro feel, the building houses faculty offices, a newly renovated teaching kitchen for the food studies program, 3 classrooms, and spaces for students to meet and study.
Can anyone see the video?
Alley in the basement and a
No, I'm not seeing the video, the shared video.
ecology garden. Faculty
Grace is calling Stephanie.
Explore different sustainable agricultural practices. Food from the garden is divided among the student workers and also consumed on campus. An original structure of Eden Hall, the barn is capable of hosting receptions, concerts.
Sorry, we'll start that over again. Guess it lost the screen share. I think it happens when I do full screen, so. Okay, I'm afraid this, at least this will show it.
It was working, Stephanie, when you had it full screen.
What was it? Okay. Let me try that again then. Tell me if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If not, speak up and then I'll stop it.
Hi, welcome to Eden Hall campus. My name is Allie and I'm an undergraduate sustainability student, and I'm going to show you around today. Designed from the ground up for the study and practice of sustainability, Eden Hall campus is a 388-acre woodland campus about 40 minutes north of Pittsburgh. It's replete with green features such as dark sky complement lighting, native plants, bioswales, frameable gravel, and geothermal heating and cooling system. Mueller House was built by Sebastian Mueller, a German immigrant who was a cousin and colleague of H.J. Heinz and founder of Eden Hall. Eden Hall's historic lodge is the administrative center of the campus. With a retro feel, the building houses faculty offices, a newly renovated teaching kitchen for the food studies program, 3 classrooms, and spaces for students to meet and study. It even has an old bowling alley in the basement and a swimming pool outside. The agroecology garden is a student-run, faculty-advised garden where students explore different sustainable agricultural practices. Food from the garden is divided among the student workers and also consumed on campus. An original structure of Eden Hall, the barn is capable of hosting receptions, concerts, plays, and other public gatherings. Carved into the natural landscape with a steeped rain garden to control stormwater runoff, the Hilda M. Willis Amphitheater provides a unique performance space for campus and community events. Once a dairy barn on the original Eden Hall property, Cafe Anne was renamed in honor of alumna Anne Millison, class of '61. Much of the original structure of the building has been maintained. A ceramic skin was hung over the exterior to protect it from the weather and help insulate it. The Eden Hall Bread Oven is a community space where we gather to bake bread, build connections, and celebrate our region's resilient grain system. Right now, I'm walking under our solar panel canopy. At Eden Hall campus, 400 large solar panels generate enough electricity to power 14 houses per year. Excess energy produced is fed back into the public grid, providing Chatham with an energy credit for the future. Located in the center of campus, the Esther Bearzoni Center, or EBC, is a multi-purpose space. Spanning 23,000 square feet and 2 floors, it offers flexible meeting and indoor and outdoor gathering spaces for dining, classes, research, and recreation. Eden Hall campus lets you see how and where food is grown, and the EBC's open commercial and teaching kitchen allows you to view how it's put to use. This state-of-the-art kitchen uses ultra-efficient induction cooking and smart hoods to reclaim excess heat generated by the cooking process. With seating for over 100 people, the dining room features wall-to-wall windows for natural light, easy access to the EBC patios, and a large stage with a 30-foot LED screen for broadcasts and presentations. The steps to the Broadhurst Forum and its beautiful green living walls are a perfect place for an impromptu meeting, lecture, presentation, or performance. The building also features class and meeting rooms, all outfitted with technology to run courses, lectures, presentations, telemeetings, and video conferences. The Field Lab houses an aquaculture lab, a technology-packed classroom, and Eden Hall's wastewater treatment and monitoring center. This is the wastewater treatment center for campus, handling up to 6,000 gallons per day. The classroom in the Field Lab is home base for learning. Typical course lectures can be conducted in the space, along with the analysis of field research conducted at outside locations. The Field Lab is also home to our aquaculture lab, which is used for research and variety of undergraduate and graduate courses, and for K-12 programming like aquaponics workshops for students and educators. The growing season extends in our solar thermal heated high tunnel, where the natural greenhouse effect is used in conjunction with irrigation, aquaculture, and ventilation technology, which also allows us to grow vegetables all year long, without the need to burn fossil fuels for heating. Eden Hall also contains 2 hoop houses. Hoop houses are the low-tech version of high tunnels, but they use the same greenhouse effect. Hoop houses can extend crop seasons, thus providing more food for the same number of plants or even fewer. Orchard Hall is our undergraduate residence hall on campus and can house up to 60 students in single rooms. Though to LEED Platinum standards, it uses the latest green advancements to make the living experience as sustainable as what is taught in the classrooms. Electricity is provided by solar panels on the roof. Heat and cooling is provided by the campus's geothermal system through radiant panels in the ceiling. Residence hall rooms are smart, equipped with sensors that monitor temperature and humidity. Osama Field is part of a fully certified organic farm, producing food for the campus and the Pittsburgh Food Bank. It's also a research site hosting projects in solar electricity, generation, and bio-intensive farming methods. We have an apiary in Osama and work to promote pollinator habitat and species biodiversity.
It's a lot of information in a short time. I wonder if she ever takes a breath. So thank you all. We will have a chance to talk about any questions that you have about that as well after the presentation on the EcoVillage. So please jot them down or put them in the chat, and we'll come back to that. Those questions, I may not be able to answer them all, but we'll see if we can get answers to everybody. So meanwhile, I'm going to give a short introduction to the EcoVillage itself. And okay, can you see this and can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, what is Rachel Carson EcoVillage? It's a response to a big need that we have in our world for coming together, for having good neighbors, relationships that enrich our lives. And it's more and more evident that social engagement is a critical factor for not only a good life, but a healthy life. The video that is referenced here, I won't be able to play this. This was put together by Time Magazine, though, and I definitely recommend that you take the time. It's about a 5-minute video to watch it because it connects the problem of isolation in our world, whether or not we're in a pandemic. That's a problem that will always be with us in modern life, and the value of intentional communities. So I highly recommend that. We are an intentional community. That means that we select ourselves to be part of this this neighborhood for two reasons. One, living more lightly, living with the land, gardening in ways that enrich the soil as well as ourselves, and also being part of an active community where we feel like we belong. It's not a new idea, of course, and Pittsburgh has a reputation for its neighborhoods. But today, many people living in our neighborhoods don't know our neighbors very well. So it is an opportunity to have the experience that we associate with being in a really good neighborhood. Is a balance between having your own private space, your house, your private yard, and also being part of a community that shares some very nice common facilities and a common place. What we call the eco-village, or in this country often goes by the name of co-housing, came from the 1970s when young families got together in order to figure out a better way to raise their kids. Today in Denmark and in other parts of Northern Europe, this is almost a mainstream approach to housing, and developers now build in communities of 30, and the government sets up websites so that people looking for a place to to participate in a community have an easy way to do that. Even in the United States, there are nearly 200 that are either constructed or in the process. What makes an eco-village or a co-housing community? As I mentioned, it's intentional. People choose to be part of the community, and that means a lot more than just choosing a place to live. The design of the community itself makes that easier. It aligns the houses along walkways, the walkways to the common house to the parking, so that there's a lot of opportunity to meet each other, greet each other on a day-to-day basis. Residents also work with each other and get to know each other in that way. We are doing that in planning right now, and that's a very important way of creating community. We share the responsibility for decisions instead of designating or electing a homeownership board or a condo board. Our decision making is shared throughout the community, and we each have a contribution to make to the community, but we are all financially independent. So this is not communal in that sense. In fact, it's not a commune. It's really much more like a typical homeowner development in this country with a homeowner association. But we know each other much better, and we have the practice at making decisions in a much more positive and connective way. So we're not a cult. We don't want people to all believe the same things. In fact, we're a better community if we have diversity in our thinking and our experiences. We are not a co-living community, which co-housing is sometimes confused with these days. Co-living is a response to very high prices for housing in some cities, where instead of renting an apartment, it's possible to rent a very small partial apartment, sometimes just a bedroom and a bathroom, and then have communal kitchen, communal dining, communal living room. In our case, we each have our own house, and what we share is in addition to that. This idea, as I mentioned, is rapidly spreading throughout the country. Whether you're in Wisconsin, Washington, D.C., or on the West Coast, there are options for you. Some communities have been in existence since the 90s. Every community that has been built and started as co-housing in this country is still functioning today. Even in the downturn of 2008, there was not a single co-housing unit that was foreclosed on. So it's a very resilient form of housing. And today we have even more than what this map shows. The nearest eco-village to Pittsburgh is eco-village Ithaca, which Marcia mentioned. And we had the good fortune to walk around with Liz Walker in a virtual way with her phone as she took us on a tour and told us a lot about the background and the formation of the community. It's a very well-established neighborhood that actually now has 3 clusters of housing, 2 at 30 units and 1 at 40 units. They own a 175 acres of land on the edge of Ithaca, and they rent most of that land to 4 tenant farmers. So it's an interesting model, always great to learn from these other communities that have such a long history already. An example of that on the West Coast was the first co-housing community built specifically as that in this country, Muir Commons, built in the early 90s. And it has the basic elements of the co-housing community, the individual houses and yards, the common space, and the common house. We'll return a little later to that, but you can already see that depending on the location, the community, the character is quite different one from another. And across the country now, there's quite a wide variety of communities, ranging from a New England type cluster of houses, Pioneer Valley, to more new urbanist developments. For example, in Boulder, Colorado, there are several of these co-housing communities that have been built as part of new developments. The most recent one that just opened is in Southern California, which you can see is quite different from those in the other parts of the country, but it has, even though the style is quite different, the elements are all the same. So right now we know that Rocky Corner in Connecticut is nearing completion of their construction. So there are a number of communities that are in process, a little bit ahead of us, and we've been fortunate to be able to learn from their experiences. Pittsburgh is a opportunity for co-housing. It takes about a half day's drive to get to any community that's actually been built. These other points on the map are just groups of people that are kind of getting together to start thinking about the idea of an eco-village or co-housing. So you can see here, if you go a little further out in the region, not only can you find Eco-Village Ithaca, but a number of other co-housing communities. The ones that are in the boldface type are actually constructed and occupied. The others are in the process of formation. Why do people choose this kind of life? One of the basic reasons is that we want to live longer and better, and living with neighbors we know is one of the best ways to do that. It provides natural safety and security. There's nothing better than neighbors who are looking out for you to make everyday life more secure. The community and the sense of being part of a group of people that you value is, of course, one of the major reasons people care about this. To be independent, to be able to have just enough confidence that your neighbors are there for you, that you don't feel that you have to impose on your own family. Good food is one of the lesser known reasons for choosing it, and probably not the only reason to choose it. But if you've ever been to a co-housing meal, you know that those meals in the common house bring out everybody's best recipe. Together, we can have much less impact on the planet. In fact, our goal at Rachel Carson EcoVillage is to have a positive impact on the planet. It's great to be around other people who care about these things. It's also great in a practical sense not to spend as much time taking care of your own house because you share that work. You can live in a house that's either larger than yours or smaller than yours, but more appropriate, and more appropriate financially as well. In the long run, it's been shown that co-housing is a really good investment, that units tend to appreciate at a rate that is just slightly better than typical housing. So this brings lots of different kinds of people to co-housing because it gathers people from uh, different backgrounds, different stages in life, and for different reasons, as we've just seen. The physical environment of an eco-village can be quite different depending on whether it's rural or urban, whether it's in a coastal part of the country, and so on. In the more rural areas, they tend to be less dense, as much as 5 acres. Ours is 4.5 acres. Um, and in the urban areas, such as in Washington, D.C., where Tacoma Park and Eastern Village are, Eastern Village is actually the renovation of an old office building. So there's very little open space there at all. The elements of the co-housing community are basically the same. There is always a set of houses, whether these are urban apartments or suburban townhouses. Um, they are built to energy conserving standards. The community values connections among people, and so cars are set off to the side and people have a chance to walk back and forth, greeting their neighbors in a way that used to hold neighborhoods together. We have a commons building called often the Common House, and other kinds of shared amenities that we couldn't have on our own, including things like gardens and play areas. The houses can vary greatly. A typical co-housing community might have anywhere from 20 to maybe 35 or 40 units. Um, the average size across the country is a 2-bedroom unit for 1,200 square feet. That's small compared to a 2-bedroom unit that you might buy from a developer. But of course, our extra living room and our extra big dining room is in the common house. Every community offers more than one type of house for different size families, different community lifestyles. So in our case, we have 7 different types of units ranging from studios to 3 bedrooms. One of the important ways that we make this affordable is thinking about it long term. We invest in the quality of construction upfront to reduce our utility bills to a fraction of what they would otherwise be. And by fraction, I mean under 20% of what you would pay otherwise. And that gives us the opportunity to put our money to much better housing and a better community. We're very conscious of the healthiness of the materials that we use, and that is a part of the selection process as we're designing this right now. The space on the outside of the house can be just as important to good living as on the inside. And Pittsburgh is certainly a neighborhood of porches. The opportunity to have a real sitting and gathering space outside has never been more valued than it is today. But a porch is a really nice way to extend the house into the yard and from the yard into the common space. Common buildings vary a lot, again, from community to community. They may be as large as 5,000 square feet or as small as 1,500. They typically offer a place for the community to gather for meetings when we're not Zooming, a dining room that accommodates people who want to come to meals. And of course, nobody's ever required to come to meals. There's a central mail box where you're likely to meet your neighbor as you pick up your mail on your way home. And also a chance to check on what's going on the weekend or who's got something going on that you might want to find out about. There are guest suites that allow us to reserve space for a visitor, a relative who comes, so that we don't have to buy the extra bedroom that we only use occasionally for our guests. Each community decides what's in its common house. Some of the additional elements include living spaces like special gathering, library, other kinds of small relaxing spaces, laundry, fitness center, a tool shop where we collectively put our woodworking. You might want to mute your microphone. Some of these are offered by the campus. So, for example, we don't need to have our own fitness center. There is a fitness center in the Verrazzone Center. The site is part of our community, whether it's a common garden or a terrace for having coffee. It provides a place for play, gathering, and parking. That takes us to our site at the campus. To orient you, the center road that you see through the campus is Ridge Road. We are just a little bit north of Bakerstown Road. And in the original master plan, which is the drawing that you're seeing here, there was an eco-village that was planned. That is the source of this idea of building a community that is also a part of a campus community. You've already seen the Verrazzone Center, the administration area. These other features were part of the original plan, but very, very far into the future. So here's a first a version of what our community is conceived to be, with clusters of houses that would be in buildings ranging from 2 to 4 units, the common house and the parking. This is a driveway right off of Ridge Road. The administration area is here. The outdoor swimming pool is right off to the side there. The amphitheater just to the north of this drawing. Oh, wrong way. So in each of the courtyards, we have a variety of unit sizes with the intention of creating more diversity and more choices. An early artist's rendering of what we might envision this to be. We call this Front Space Orchard Commons. It would link the 3 courtyards, and you're looking now from the north to the south along Orchard Commons, and the building in the red is the Commons building, the common house. We anticipate that some of the units will be accessible, and almost all of the units, actually, I think now all of the units have bedroom and bathroom on the ground floor, whether they're 1 or 2 stories. So what makes this different from conventional housing? In a lot of ways, it's not. There is no government funding for this. We buy our units, and that's the money that that enables us to build it. But we don't have the developer on our team that would be making decisions about this community and making profit on it. This is not a speculative development, and there is no profit in the prices for the units. They are all being sold at cost. Every unit pays not only for its own construction, its own yard, but also the common facilities. And about a third of the price of the unit is the cost of the common facilities. We are in the process of having workshops that enable us to make good decisions about how we want our community to be. We have monthly design reviews where we have input into the early design. We have a very clear sustainability agenda that guides our site development in terms of the ecology of the land in the area that we're building, and the building performance goals for quality of air, conservation of energy, use of renewable energy, and so on. So very preliminarily, this gives you an idea of the range of unit types and what we are hoping for in terms of sales, rough sales prices. It's too early in the design process to have actual sales numbers. And we're doing everything we can to make these units as affordable as we can. But we are also looking at that affordability as a long-term goal. So we're building in good quality, durability, and as I said, this is being developed without a developer fee or profit. There are ways in which this kind of housing is especially good for our budgets in the long term. We benefit from sharing with each other. The green housing approach makes it less expensive to live here. We have smaller sized buildings, which are also more economical to manage and to maintain. We're a variety of people with a variety of interests and resources, and we welcome a variety of people. We work through what are called our planning groups. In orange, you see membership and outreach, community life, administration, and finance and legal. Our decisions are made by these groups. They are not committees. They are actually working groups authorized to make decisions for the community as a whole. We practice a decision-making system called Sociocracy, which is technically means governance by friends. It's a deep form of democracy where there's much more of a respect for each voice and also for each person's time. So it's an efficient way of making decisions by sharing the authority for those decisions. We connect every way we can. These days, we connect a lot by Zoom. We've been able to get outside some. We've had some eco walks around the campus to understand the ecology of the land that's there. We originally had a few meetings that were in person, but that was a year ago now. We look forward to that opportunity again. A brief overview on the question of ownership. Chatham retains the ownership of the land of their campus. This was a term of the bequest of the loan. However, they are providing a long-term lease that the banks look at as equivalent to ownership. So we are able to get mortgages on these houses just as you would a typical fee simple house. Each house buys its own unit, which is in the form of a condominium, and that also includes your share of the common facilities, as I mentioned. We have a monthly fee that will cover the costs of repairs and operations long term. And it will also include the fee to have access to Chatham's facilities, including the shuttle van that runs between the Eden Hall campus and the east end of the city, the Shadyside campus. We all commit to doing a certain number of volunteer hours, probably in the range of 4 to 8 hours a month. That's not just for cost savings, it's also a really important community building process. Just as we are right now working with each other remotely, it will be a good way to be in touch with each other and develop a stronger sense of community. As I mentioned, we use Sociocracy, we make decisions by consent, and our Explorer members all take a short 4-week Sociocracy class together. So there's a good way to learn how to do that, as we all have done. This is an overall timeline. We've completed phase 1, our startup, and we demonstrated to our satisfaction and to the universities that there is a real feasibility to this project. So we entered into the planning phase. We are right now in the course of our first approval from Richland Township. And the conclusion of that will be in another week approximately. So that's been a process of getting acquainted with our neighbors, responding to their concerns, and learning from them as well. So the planning process will take us through the completion of construction documents, a commitment from a bank. We've got 3 financial institutions already that are interested in talking with us further about that loan. Then we hope to start construction next spring, and that construction could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. This is in detail where we've been. The first phase, the startup phase, was the feasibility study, and we completed every one of these items, although our field trip to Ithaca was a virtual one. And as I say, this is the phase that we're in right now. We are producing our community handbook that begins to lay out some guidance about how we want to live together. We've selected our contractor, which is Gendico Construction. We are in the process of design, and we will, in the course of this work, submit for all the approvals that are necessary, as well as completing the documents. We look forward to moving in then in late 22 or possibly 23. By that time, every family will have secured their own financing for purchasing their house. The project is constructed by Rachel Carson EcoVillage LLC, which enters into the contract with the contractor and manages all of the construction. It's only at the end of that each household actually purchases its own house and, of course, then moves in. And by that time, we will know each other quite well. We will have our community handbook. We will be in the process of a long-term site management process, which we're actually beginning now. And we will have ongoing monitoring to see if we meet the goals of the building performance and sustainability. So that will be quite a celebration. Our path to getting there involves, for everybody individually, starting out with just learning about the EcoVillage. So by attending this morning, you've become an inquirer. And we welcome your questions. You are invited to take part in activities. We're having a walk around the campus and the site tomorrow afternoon at 2:00. So if you're interested in getting out and getting to see the site and getting to meet folks, that's a great opportunity. If you really want to learn more about it, if you think this is something that might fit you, then we would like you to join us as an explorer. That means going to the website and filling out the application, sending in an initial fee that gives you 4 months of membership, and then most importantly, taking part in our planning activities. And your voice then becomes a part in shaping the EcoVillage. When you're ready, if you're ready, we have a process for becoming an equity member. And the advantage of doing that early is that you get an early selection of your unit. The disadvantage is that early members take the biggest risk. So that's the balance. We will have 20 equity members before we start construction. And we will sell the rest of the units during that time. So you are welcome if you're interested in considering becoming an Explorer member to sit in on our meeting this afternoon, where we meet monthly as a membership group. If you know anyone else who would like to learn about the EcoVillage, our next introduction is on Saturday, April 24th. With the same Zoom that we use today. So let your friends know about it, and join us this afternoon if you're interested. And also contact Dave Geis for any other questions that come to your mind after this session. So I'm going to stop screen sharing right now and return so that we can have 25 minutes of questions. So I haven't been able to see the chat, but if anyone can.
We've been on it, Steph.
Thank you, Grace. This is a team effort. So you want to start with those questions?
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty much all addressed. There was a question, though, about the walk tomorrow. And Jim just asked for folks, if they did want to attend, to make a note, since there is 100% chance of rain. So it might not actually happen.
Yeah, that's always an important fallback here. So questions then. Let me try to get my screen. Marcia?
How many equity members do you have right now?
We have 12.
Thanks.
We are actually slightly ahead of schedule. Other questions? Just raise your hand or do the little hand signal if you have any comments or questions. Hey, Julie, yeah.
Hi. So have you gotten to the point where you're starting to plan the architecture?
Yes, we're in that first. We call it the schematic phase.
Okay.
So we've been meeting for the last 2 months with the community about the unit types, the characteristics of the different units that are important to people.
Okay.
And of course, we're making those decisions very soon. And people who are involved early are having input into that process. The later you join, the more those decisions have been made.
Right.
And you can see what you're getting into, but those decisions are already set. So that's a process.
Okay, and I guess so the thing would be to come to one of the meetings to find out more of the details.
That's right. And particularly if you become an explorer, you have access to all of our shared documents. We also do a meeting for explorers once a month. That's our design review. So not only can you see the documents, the drawings that are on our shared drive, but we have an update once a month to talk about decisions that are being made and to get input from everybody.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Rich Ebert. On that monthly fee, what percentage of that is paid to the university for the additional amenities that you get from the university campus? And how much of it would be attributable just to everything that's within the four corners of the EcoVillage?
That's a really good question, Richard. Our goal is to keep our monthly fee at about $300. And we are in the process of working out with the university right now what amount would work for them for this fee. It's unprecedented, of course. This is the first time that an independent eco-village has been built on a college campus. In other colleges, they have created what they call eco-villages that are dormitories for students, but this is quite different. So we're having those discussions, but we feel that it will be possible to have that fee along with the maintenance and management. I'm guessing, Jim, what do you say? No more than a third of it would go to the university, maybe a quarter.
Yeah, something like that. We have to get it. There's about 1/3 of the fee goes into escrow accounts just for repairs to the parking facilities and some of the common places. And it was less than a third that went to the to Chatham, but again, a lot of it depends on some of the things that we had in there they may want to do and that sort of thing. We had, costs in there, for example, of doing all the snow removal on that. Maybe that's something they could do, so we don't know, but the goal is to keep it under the $300.
Would that also include you have a land lease for that land, and so that has to be paid every month, year, whatever, something like that?
We are working on the whole relationship. So yes, the lease is integrated. Part of that lease is going to be paid in the cost of the house itself. So that it will all be, there won't be any additional fees that come up. Everything is going to be, and all of that is open book. So one of our principles is that once you become an Explorer member, you have access. You can ask anything about the budget, about the structure, the legal structure. All of that is totally open book. And of course, we invite people to become part of the planning groups for that purpose, so that we get the best thinking about how to make those decisions. Marcia.
Thank you.
Is each homeowner responsible for their own repairs, or is that part of the community fee?
Well, like your own house would, on the interior, would certainly be your own responsibility, but the roof is shared. So there are certain things that just logically have to be done by the group as a whole. But everything like your yard, your inside, you'd be responsible for those.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Marcia.
So do you have a sense of the demographics of the people who are moving in, and are you going to make any attempt to kind of create diversity in the community?
Yes, we can tell you about the demographics of the folks so far. Can't tell you about the next 20 people, but let me say that in general, in this kind of housing, because of the investment up front, not just in money, but really more in time to be part of this growing community, it tends to be led by people who are empty nesters, who are retired, who have the time to devote to that. So we have and Pittsburgh is a place where we tend to have a higher percentage of folks in that age group. So, but even so, I believe that our membership is less than 50% over the age of 65. And we have a number of folks who have been participating as explorers as they can, who have young families, but particularly in the last year, trying to work from home, take care of the kids, and then take on being part of this community. It's just too much. So we're working to make sure we go out to people who we might otherwise miss, people in younger ages, particularly through organizations where there are younger people. We're reaching out to people who are from ethnic and racial diverse backgrounds, but it's really a question of who shows up. So we're doing the best we can to build in diversity. We're designing units that span quite a variety of costs and sizes for the same reason.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking that.
I have a question. So Stephanie, you mentioned kind of the risks that some of these early equity members take, and this is really a question maybe for other equity members as well, but what motivates you to take those risks and when thinking about, the EcoVillage? Oh,
that's a great question, Josh. Let me start with a little background and then I'll turn it over to Dave and Lori. The risk that I mention is that if you become a pioneer equity member, you agree to advance deposits on your down payment. $45,000 of your down payment is advanced early and is spent in order to hire the consultants to get us to the point where we can build. During that time, that money is spent. So becoming a pioneer equity member means that you have enough confidence to believe that this will happen, that you're willing to take that risk. As I said, 11 of our equity members are pioneer members right now. We also have an alternative to that, which is called a Pathfinder equity member, in which you're expected to make an advance deposit of $15,000, but that $15,000 is not spent to hire the consultants. It's kept in the bank. It's used as equity when our bank gives us a construction loan. They need to see that we have a certain amount of equity built up, and that is a very valuable way that anybody can contribute. But if for any reason this does not make it all the way, or if you have to leave and can't continue, you can get that $15,000 back. So the real risk is pioneers who say, I'm going to make this happen, and without pioneers, we couldn't make it happen. But I understand that whatever money I've put in, at whatever point I might have to leave or the community doesn't go forward, I have risked that money. And I understand that for myself, I can risk that money. And so that's the risk that we're talking about taking. So Dave, let me turn it to you, and then I'll ask Jim and then Lori.
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. My wife Sherry and I are Pioneer members, and financially, we're fortunate enough that we're able to put that money at risk. But the motivation to do that came from attending Explorer meetings and membership meetings before we joined, to see the people who were already a part of building this community. And it was impressive. And other than that, I think the biggest draw for me is community. We live in a small neighborhood. We wave to our neighbors, but there's really no community. And to have the opportunity to have a shared day-to-day life with the people who are in this community was the real motivation for us. I, in a previous life, was an ecology teacher, so the environmental part of it is also a draw, but for us, the main part was the community.
Thank you, Dave. That's great. And Jim?
Yeah, no, I was very much drawn to it for the intentional community also, but I was one of the early investors, and I always looked at it as it was a very controlled risk, because we're going up in milestones. If we never got the thing off the ground, then really there was very little money that was invested. Presently, we're at milestone 1, and that was a $15,000 investment, and you need to get all the approvals from the community, et cetera, and then we're going to go on, and we need a certain number of members. When we get to milestone 2, we're going to need 12 members, and that's just about where we are. And then then the next step is 16 members, and at 20 members we'll start to build, so that your money you put more money in as you get closer to having it built. So it is money at risk, but I look at it as a controlled risk.
Thanks, Jim. That's a really good point. I appreciate that. Lori, and then Charlene.
Like Dave and Jerry, when I joined, I went to, before I decided to jump in, all 4, as I was going to say, but all 2. I went to a meeting with each of the various groups because I wanted to have a good sense of it. And as well as Dave mentioned, impressed by what I saw and the amount of details and things I hadn't even thought of, and I'm a detailed person. Community is huge for me. I retired from Northern Virginia, and where I live currently, everyone's lived here most of their life. I live in Renfrew, Pennsylvania, and people are friendly, but they already have all their connections, and I'm single. So I've made friends for sure, and people are nice, but I really wanted a stronger sense of community. Part of it is a huge thing for me is the eco. My career has been in environmental stewardship when I lived in Canada and here. And so that's huge. As some people have mentioned, joined us recently to learn about the village. Love gardening. It's really hard where I live currently. because it's a condo situation and it's just, there's a little bit, but it's not what I envision for myself. A few other short things. The fact that it's on a university campus, I did my research and it has so much more chance of being successful because the land issue has already been taken care of. And I've learned a lot of communities, it's hard getting off the ground because having the ground, the land to build on can be quite a hurdle. I also got on early because, quite frankly, I wanted to have my own home choice. Early, get on, the earlier the choice. Now I'm conservative with my money. I had fun with it, but I really thought this through. And just a smaller thing, I can stay in the, well, not smaller, I can stay in the area. I'm retired, but I work part-time at a local college. And I'm only 4 hours away from my family who lives in Niagara on the Lake in Ontario. And we go back and forth on COVID times to see each other. So being close to my family is paramount to me too. I'm just jazzed about the whole community though, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks, Lori. Yeah, it's a very different story for different people. And Charlene, you and Mark joined very, very soon after you found out about the EcoVillage. You're muted.
I had been reading about eco-villages and alternative other living situations, and Mark and I had looked at houses in other states. And I had so much concern about the environmental issues of those houses, off-gassing, materials they were built with, who my neighbors would be, and how the land would be taken care of around me. That really concerned me. Mark was learning a little bit more about it behind me, and we had questions, but one of the questions we did not have was about the people who were leading this project or working together on this project and their abilities. I felt the money that we had to put up might be at risk, but I really wasn't worried about that so much. I had so much confidence in the group together being able to complete this project. And at this point, I'm 100% sure it's going to happen. So I'm not worried about that. But I think what this group of people have to offer has so much that can enhance our lives, everybody's life in this group of people, because people have so much to give. So I'm very excited about what our community will be like not too long in the future. Time's going quickly. Thank you.
That's for sure. So that gives you a sense of some of the diversity of reasons that we come together. Thanks for that question, Josh.
And thank you for the answers. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? We have 5 minutes left. Marcia.
So I have two easy ones. One is, are there any freestanding units in the design? And then who pays the property taxes on the units?
Okay. The units are at this point either in a 3-unit building or a 2-unit building. And that's primarily for energy saving, but also to cluster the project. And property taxes are paid by the individual household for your own house. The land is not taxed, and the community taxes are also covered in that by the community. So the property taxes, you should know, in Richland Township are high. They have an excellent school system and they pay for it, but they also have excellent parks, and so on. But you should be aware that the total tax is 26 mil. So, and we have a worksheet for our Explorer members so that you can figure out what works for you. It's got insurance and taxes, and then gives you an opportunity to put in different kinds of mortgage amounts so that you can really make sure before you become an equity member that it's something that you can afford.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, can I ask one last thing? Is it possible to get a copy of the presentation at the end of this?
This presentation is going to go online. So you are going to find it on YouTube, and it will actually be through Rachel Carson EcoVillage, but because this particular introduction is also meant for library participants, that you'll find it through the North Hills Library in the Carnegie system.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Charlene.
I was just going to ask, someone had a question about Explorer membership. If Grace would just go into that a little bit, because maybe more than one person has that question.
Yeah, so just in terms of becoming an Explorer, we recently had some changes with that membership. If anyone has been kind of following along with the changes via our website. So right now, anyone that is interested in that can join as a household. If you have more than one person in your home, the memberships are to cover everybody, or if you're just an individual, then it's the same across the board for that, and it's $150 for the first 4 months of the membership. And as Stephanie mentioned, you'll have access to our Google Drive, which has all of our documents, so you can mire yourselves down in all of the documentation and attend any of our planning groups to see if the EcoVillage is a good fit for you. And after the 4-month period, you can certainly continue to renew as an Explorer if you're not quite sure if you want to become an equity member. It's what I've been doing since the get-go, because I'm just not sure how things are going to unfold for me and my family in particular. But you can renew for $75 a quarter, or go ahead forward as an equity member. And that is all able to be done in terms of renewing that Explorer membership if you choose to just keep doing that for a little while via our website as well. And it's certainly been great for me. I mean, if I had, the extra funds, I would certainly be an equity member already, but time's just gonna tell about that, and maybe that's the case for other folks too. So absolutely, we have other folks who've been Explorers for a while as well, for all kinds of reasons. So I've been just as involved, if not more so, as an Explorer versus being an equity member. There's really not so much of a difference there, except I don't have any risk at this point. But yeah, that's pretty much the scoop on Explorer memberships.
Thank you. Thanks, Grace. And it's a really important point. We are all Explorers. So even when we become equity members as a community, we are all working together to explore this life together. And we all take part in decision-making in every one of our working groups. So we invite you to become an Explorer with us and see it for yourself if this is a good fit. As Grace mentioned, just go to the website and you'll find under the membership menu the place to click for an application to become a member. And if you are interested in seeing how we work together, then you may join us for this afternoon's meeting. Could somebody put the link to that afternoon meeting in the chat? Thanks, Shirley.
Yeah, I put it in earlier, but I can do it again.
Oh, thanks, Grace. Okay, then you can just find it there. And Dave will be in touch with you. So lots of opportunities to see where this goes for you. And we're very pleased that you joined us this morning, and welcome you to participate. So thank you.
Just one last note, Stephanie, if you haven't given us your email address, please put it in the chat so that we can be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
And we'll hope to see you again.